The OG of today's fintech infra, Tally Solutions, has been helping Indian businesses manage accounting, inventory, and taxation since 1986. What started off as a simple accounting software has grown into a complete business management solutions platform used by over 2.5 million businesses and 7 million users for various functions. Over the years, Tally has navigated changing regulations, adapted to multiple tech shifts, including the current AI wave, all while balancing its business roadmap of revenue and profitability. As fintech and AI reshape enterprise tech, where does Tally fit in here? And what's new from the company? To address this and to discuss more, I have with me Nupur Goenka, the Executive Director of Tally Solutions. Thank you so much, Nupur, for joining us. I'm going to start off with an icebreaker question to you. So, like I said, Tally has witnessed multiple waves and has communicated with a lot of users, right? So, from a manual ledger to digital accounting today, you have seen it all. So, if Tally was a person, how would you describe it?
You know, I would actually describe it as an animal as opposed to a person. I think the best animal I can think of is an elephant. I would describe that we're steady, we value rigor, we value strength, and while we walk the journey, we do wind up walking like hundreds of miles.
That's wonderful. That's way different from what I was expecting, but thank you, Nupur. Nupur, we are right. I mean, we are well into 2025, but 2024 was not an ordinary year for many software fintech players, right? AI came in and Gen AI came in and changed everything for businesses, and I'm sure for Tally as well. Can you talk about how 2024 was for you? Was it challenging? What were your learnings? What were your journey in general?
2024 was a very, very interesting year. I do look back on it as a year that was definitely very, very challenging. I think it tested and demanded a lot more agility from us in terms of thinking, decision making, strategy, the speed at which we could pivot with all the bets that we were taking. What I am very proud of in 2024 is that I believe we walked several steps ahead in a dream that we've had about really being the technology fabric to create a connected business ecosystem across the world. We have a long, long journey to go, but I think we've taken some very important steps forward. With Release 5 that we had earlier in the year, we focused on connected compliance in India. With the release that we have coming out very, very soon, we have our focus on connected banking. So I think it's steady steps forward against that dream. On the AI front, very honestly, since I've been in the space of technology, this is the fastest I have seen anything move. It's like you wake up every morning and there is something completely new happening in some part of the globe that's adding to community knowledge of what the world will look like in a few years. And even more interesting to hear polarizing perspectives, balanced perspectives on what that AI-first ecosystem can turn out to be for all of us. And all these companies join in that conversation. So we're obviously thinking about it, but it is a year that I look back on with pride. I think it's also very good to see that we've come out of the year, or we are going to come out of the year with a team that's a lot more resilient, and with a foundation, I believe, fingers crossed, is much stronger to grow for the next 3 to 5 years.
Nupur, when it comes to AI, it's easier for, let's say, I mean, not easier for any companies, of course, but for startups, given a smaller team, it's easier to prepare the employees, your leadership team and more, right? But for Tally, a large organization like Tally, how did you prepare your company for what's coming?
You know, interestingly, Dad has always said this, and Tejas and I have lived it, or tried to live it rather after that we're almost 4 decades old in the company, but we perpetually call ourselves a 40-year-old startup. So I don't believe that our size is currently an obstacle in our speed to actually respond. But what I find interesting and what I find very liberating inside Tally is that historically and even today, we've never been afraid to go down to the depth of technology. So our entire stack that's in the market today, including our database, our language, our own memory manager, all of that has been crafted and is proprietary built inside Tally. So we're never constrained by technology. We're never the ones who say that, you know what, this is how this security protocol works, and let's just leave it at that. We go down to a level of detail where if we find out that in order to achieve a certain objective or to create a benchmark, we want to craft it ourselves, that's the path that we choose. And I believe that this is the principle that regardless of size, of whether the AI team or, the overall engineering team, I think it's a blessing to kind of navigate any technical landscape, including, like I said, everything that's happening in Gen AI, which is super exciting.
In terms of products, what's exciting for you when it comes to software, fintech software, financial services? What's exciting for you in AI, and what's Tally bringing on the table?
So I think we have to look at a lot of nuances because of the market that we serve, not only in terms of the size of the business, but even a complex market like India. And there are, I think, 2 or 3 things. One is that, from my experience, a lot of our customers are innovation seekers. They love trying new technology. They're very, very open to it. And most of them are willing to pay for it as well. But the benchmark is quite high, meaning that the software, the technology, the product has to deliver what is promised. And it has to do it extremely fast. Because if it doesn't, I think it just becomes a novelty. It's not really meant for wide adoption. And the second thing is definitely data privacy. So historically inside Tally, we've always had a principle. Not a single developer inside Tally, not me as an owner of Tally, can look at any customer's data. I think this will be critical when we look at AI and serving this particular market. I don't believe that small business owners will be very comfortable knowing that their data, their business practices are being used to train models that are serving their competition. And the third interesting thing to me is, and very challenging thing, which is exciting me, is the cost to serve this market. At the end of the day, the affordability in rupees is very, very different from the affordability in dollars. And we have to think about and fundamentally design for serving, not only serving this customer, but actually creating for this customer at this massive scale. So it's kind of aligning your stars across all of these 3 things when we think about the nuances of delivering AI in a country like India. So I do find it very exciting. I think there's a lot to do. I think there's a lot to learn from the community, but that's the journey we're on right now.
Right. But what has been your customers' approach? Like, what have they told you? Is it more like a demand-driven push for bringing or launching anything with AI for Tally?
I would say it's never really been a very heavy demand-driven push for anything, AI or not, inside Tally. We've never had the philosophy that we need to solve a customer's problem. It's always been a philosophy of first visualizing how we're going to change a customer's life, regardless of what we bring to the table, and figure out how to deliver on that. And we're taking that same approach with AI as well. So we have a huge diversity. We have 2.5 million serials in the market, several millions of users. So we have people who have been using ChatGPT to customize their tallies, even as early adopters when ChatGPT first came out. We also have several customers who have not gotten their hands dirty in the AI game at all yet. So I think we're trying to figure out the journey accordingly.
One thing that's unique about Tally is also your SME and MSME customer base, right? The market is not very easy to crack because, let's say, of the huge amounts of unorganized data, or the sense, it's very difficult to satisfy the SME and the MSME needs, right? In that sense, I think Tally has penetrated well into the market. So what's your secret sauce? It's not just about gaining new customers, but also retaining the existing ones, right? So what's been your secret sauce?
That's a great question. I don't know if I'd call it a secret sauce, but let me tell you about one of my first customer visits. So once I had come out of college, I went to a customer in Domlur. He was a wires and cables retailer. And I walked into his office and I realized there was a small desktop in the corner of the office. And when I went closer, I realized that he didn't have any mouse. And it was very strange because there was a mouse pad, but once we started talking, I realized that he used to keep his mouse in his drawer because he had no use for it. He didn't know how to use a computer. So the partner who had sold Tally to him had helped him buy a computer, who taught him how to switch on the computer, use Tally throughout the day. At the end of the day, close everything, save his work, switch off the computer. And I think there are a lot of nuances we've learned over the years of creating a software for a customer like this in mind. And at the end of the day, you want to create something where the customer doesn't worry about the software. They worry about their job. They worry about their company. The software should just work. And when you think about environments like this, in fact, I don't know if this has happened since you've been here, but we're in top grade tech park in Bangalore, the IT hub of India. And at least twice a day, or sometimes, more frequently during the week, we get power cuts. If you imagine the small business who's sitting in Davangere, who's creating, making dosa batter and kind of packaging it, you have to keep their environment in mind. You have to think about the fact that there is occasional connectivity rather than occasional disconnection. And I think all of this goes into how we think about crafting the technology, crafting the software, and crafting the product to crack this market. The second point I would say is that the software has to be, it's a very obvious point, but the software has to be usable for that business. So there's no business, including ours, that will change practices because the software is demanding you to work in a certain way. We're not going to change the way we do inventory, the way we do relationship management, the way we do our finances, the way we do our credit control. The software should adapt to us, not the other way around. That's also been, I think, a very, very core principle. And these are not straightforward things to do. It's very easy to make something for a slightly smaller, very structured set of customers. But since we've chosen deliberately to do the opposite and absorb the complexity of programming, processes, policies to deliver this kind of simplicity, I think that's been a key in cracking this market.
I'm going to come to the business aspect a little bit later, but before that, the approach to go after SMEs and MSME market, was it taken, long ago, because you're the next generation of leader, right? So was it taken long ago? How are you still maintaining that? Why didn't you, pitch for enterprise customers as well, who are, a big value for your revenue books as well, right? So how have you maintained the decision to service SMEs and MSMEs?
So the original Tally was built for a very small manufacturing unit, a bobbins factory actually, that was run by my grandfather back in the 70s and 80s. And at the time, it was a business that was in very, very heavy debt. But when Dad had created the first draft of Tally, the demo with my granddad, Dadaji, went horribly. So Dadaji had opened the software and he went to the travel voucher screen and he saw on top T001 and he asked my dad, what is this? So Dad said, that means travel voucher 1. And Dadaji said, but I don't understand it. And Dad said, it's difficult for the computer to understand English. It's easier for it to understand code. So Dadaji said, I don't understand you. Are we programming to make the lives of the user easier, the life of the programmer easier? And I think this was one of the founding principles that really cemented our approach to product and technology. And over time, it started very organically from there, that Dadaji could finally use a software that he didn't know how to use computers, that he could run the business on. He started recommending it to people and so on and so forth. Eventually, the factory burned down. And as legend goes, when they walked through it, everything had turned into ash and there was just one chair sitting in the middle of the factory. And under the chair was the laptop that had the Tally source code. And it was the only thing that was untouched. And that's how Tally began. But I think it's been although it started organically, I think it's been a very interesting journey because it's very challenging. And therefore, it's a ton of fun to try and crack this market. And like you said, it's a journey a lot of people deliberately choose not to take, perhaps because of its complexity, perhaps because of the ticket size. But when you can be in a position to say that you want to empower entrepreneurs and business owners across the world, I think there's a very special nuance that you can build for the small business. So I think over time we fell in love with that journey, honestly. So we've deliberately chosen to do it, but never say never. We will look at several other segments as well in our future.
Wonderful. I think that's a beautiful anecdote as well to share. And that's the infamous Tally story that we've all heard. The garage burned down and there was only a laptop that was there, and that started Tally up. Beautiful. Thank you, Nupur. On that note, we're going to take a short break and we'll be back to know more on what's Tally coming up with in terms of AI and more product innovation. Welcome back. We are in conversation with Nupur Goenka, the Executive Director of Tally Solutions. Nupur, let's get into startups, right? New age startups. We see a lot of them, not just new age startups, I mean, generally, even large companies grapple a bit on culture, right? Some of them, when it comes to work life balance or retaining their employees for a longer duration, right? What's been your take on that, on the whole work life balance, be it in terms of layoffs, be it in terms of attrition, even women in tech, right? So, what's been your take and how have you maintained it at Tally?
It's a great question. We have an induction for every incoming batch. We do this intense 10-day induction. And inevitably, in every single induction, someone asks this question that, we met so many people. Some of them have been in Tally for 30 years and 25 years, 15 years. Like, what is going on? To be honest, we've never had an answer. We've never had a good answer about this. But I was thinking about it recently. So we are in the middle of demolishing my current house, unfortunately, lived there for 20 years. But my dad wrote a very nice mail to the architect and the construction company. And he asked a question that, to every single person on the ground that's going to be working there, can you help me understand why this will be a very special project that they will work on? Such a strange question to ask, because you just want the work done. I think that is an important question that we have asked and that we continue to ask for every single role inside Tally, every single person. That when they come in, why will they be proud of the work that they do? And if you're not able to create an environment that allows for that, I don't think genuinely there's any reason for people to stay. Whether they're working in product, whether they're working in payroll, in marketing, any field, any role. I don't think we've got it perfectly, but it is something we deliberately strive to do all the time. For women in tech, that's a great question. So, I was in a panel a few months ago, I think, it's been over a year now, with Arundhati Bhattacharya, the Salesforce India chairperson. Absolutely amazing, incredible woman, amazing, incredible leader. And she made a point that really, really resonated. So she said society teaches women that it is not okay to put up your hand to grab opportunities because they make you feel and they make you question yourself continuously. And it's something that every single woman should fight against. And I genuinely love this point. It was something that was not too meta, but it was very actionable. And to this day, I think since that conversation, it's something I would encourage every woman I meet to do. That whether you feel like you're ready or not, put up your hand and kind of take that opportunity. That even if you fail, be proud of the fact that you did try. I think this applies in STEM and honestly any role. But it's a culture we try to promote in Tally, that it's opportunities for everyone, but make sure that you're not creating something that suppresses people from wanting to grab it.
So, in terms of your roadmap, in terms of revenue and profitability roadmap, where do you think Tally is and what will we see in the next 2 years?
So, this year we will have a good steady growth, touchwood, of around 25 to 30% year on year. Over the next, I would say even 2 to 3 years, we are wanting to be a lot more ambitious, not only in India, but internationally as well. So I would maybe categorize them around 2 or 3 bets. One, like I said, is around the connected ecosystem. We want to do a lot from the technology and product side to help our customers connect to their ecosystems, their suppliers, their customers, financial institutions, taxation institutions, much better than they can do today. We've taken strides in that, but it's something we will continue to do over the next financial year, the one after that, and so on. The second is many of the more adjacent bets we've been taking, whether it's in AI, financial services, our education business. Me and Tejas are continuously debating and discussing the pipeline. So we have a lot more ideas we're very excited to kind of get out. The third, I would say, is more on the international front. That for a long time, we have focused on India. Around 90% of our revenue does come from India. For, I would say, the last couple of years, we've taken much larger international bets. Our second largest market is currently in the UAE. 1 out of every 2 businesses approximately uses our product. And we want to see how to plant our flag in between 2 to 4 more countries, build a replicable model, and kind of take off from there.
Tell us a little bit about your product roadmap as well. We are right now in Tally Prime 5.0. There was, I think, 4.0 just last year, and you've improved it. So what's coming, especially in terms of AI? Would we expect any new products coming in from Tally?
Release 5 was focused on connected compliance against the entire story of connecting to the ecosystem. We have release 6 coming out very soon. A lot of it is focused around connected banking, making it easier for customers to do a lot more within the product as a reconciliation project, as entry, and so on and so forth, and making it easier for us to also add a lot more banks on the back end to make this accessible to users. So our next few releases are focused on various things, but we will really double down on this connected journey. On the AI front, we have an absolute ton going on. We're actually working with a lot of partners, a lot of customers to fine-tune some of the work we're doing internally, but we'll be able to show something to the market and the public very, very soon.
Thank you so much, Nupur, for being very candid. I think we've got everything from what's Tally been doing inside the organization in terms of work-life balance and your business and product roadmap as well. Thank you so much. It was a very insightful conversation.